What's going on, y'all? Welcome to this week's Talkadot AMA. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, the way the AMAs work are very simple. We have no content structured for you. This is all about your questions. So what questions do you have? How abouts, yeah, buts, what ifs are showing up for you? Do you want to use the tool in a certain way? Do you have a scenario that has come up that you need some advice on? This is all for you. So if you have a question, you can simply raise your hand using the raise your hand feature, which is, I don't know, where did it go? Where'd it go? There it is. Like that right there. Jen did it. Thank you, Jen. I don't know why I couldn't do it. So you can raise your hand and then we'll just use that as the cue to go through questions. If for any reason you can't come on camera or turn your audio on, you by all means can throw your questions into the chat. If you have a question and I can't answer it, the great news is that we have a community of really, really smart people here that we can crowdsource a lot of great intelligence. And also because folks are so about it who are using Talkadot, it's what I've noticed, the kinds of people who are attracted to using a tool like Talkadot typically are really about their speaking business. They're really about sharing and learning and growing. It's just we see that every single time. So there's things that I learned from you on this, which is amazing, and we can learn from each other as well. So we're really excited about it. We're going to jump into it. I will warn you before we begin, I have not figured out how to turn off this feature on Zoom. It drives me crazy. I talk with my thumbs more than I realize. I'll show you. Watch. And then my camera freezes. If you can tell me, Darren, how to turn this off or how to stop my camera from freezing, because I don't want it to do this, but it takes this image of me and then I gotta go here and then I gotta go here. I don't know how to turn it off. I've also discovered if I do this, I learned this, I can make hearts, but then it freezes. And I don't know how to turn it off. I don't know how to make it unfreeze. Darren, if you could help me.
I would assume it's in your Zoom settings.
But what setting is it? Because I've turned off recognize hand gestures and it still doesn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You got me there.
Okay. Does anyone else have this on their Zoom? Am I the only one?
No,
it's
happening.
Mine was on the recognize hand gestures as well, and I turned it off.
Give me a double thumbs up, Samantha.
I turned it off and it doesn't do it. It's down in the Zoom settings right now, down below.
See, I turned mine off and it's still doing it.
Let me turn mine on and see. I turned it on. It's not doing anything. Oh, look how good that works. Not. Well, I don't know, Arel. I just turned it on. It's not recognizing anything. So
there's someone who is punking me at Zoom HQ. I think there's accounts that they like to punk. Okay, so anyway, that might happen. I just want to address it. And if I do one thumb, it just does this, and then it freezes. It's super frustrating. It's happened to me on it's embarrassing at this point because I can't figure it out. So anyway, I want to apologize in advance for having to deal with it. So Jen, you you raised your hand first. So let's jump in.
I couldn't remember if I raised my hand or it was recognizing my gesture or what was going on, but I did raise my hand first because I was thinking about this as I was making my lunch earlier. Okay. Is there a way, has anybody figured out a way to, let's say you want to apply to, a lot of the places I apply are women conferences, women leadership conferences, without talking to them, because a lot of times you're applying blindly, you're kind of doing a cold apply kind of thing. Anyone ever figured out how to figure out what they want to talk about? Because people are very general in their professional development. And I'm wondering, are there tricks to niche it down even further so that you really...
Yeah, I can show you one of the things that I do, and then this is a great question to open it up to the general group as well, because I'm sure there's smart people here. Do you have a group you can pull up, or I can just find one and then kind of test it for you?
I was doing like women in manufacturing have their big summit coming up, and there's two keynotes I've been giving over the last year. One on imposter syndrome, making imposter syndrome your superpower, and the other one is called cracking the power code of personal responsibility, how multidimensional leaders can thrive in the face of uncertainty and change.
Ooh, I like that. That's really nice. So I'll show you what I do. So I'm going to pull up women. I'm going to share my screen and just walk you through. This is typically what I do. And So this is, I just Googled women in manufacturing. Are you familiar with this one here?
Yep.
So typically what I'm looking for is something that's around their mission, values, or what they usually put something on their website. Let me see if I can find it here cold. They have a lot of sponsors. Shout out to them. All right, so let's go to about. Is this the about section? Let's go FAQ. Virtual, pick it up. Optional activities. None of that's helpful. Where are you gonna be? Why attend?
Yeah, attend the test.
Things to do, virtual, in person. No, no. So this is not what I would love doing. I've done this once and then I decided I'd never ever do it again. Sometimes I look for who they've brought in the past. That might be helpful.
Done that.
But that takes way too long and I hate it. So if this isn't giving me like the juice that I'd like to see, because typically, all right, let's see. We had a fantastic meeting. Oh wait, this is for the one that just happened. This is the summary. Okay, that's
But
okay.
you
So
know
that's
what,
kind of
Arel?
why.
You're giving me some ideas because you're on their summit website. So if I just go to their regular website, there's a whole about section there. That's
Okay,
probably
yeah. Let me go back to because this is the recap versus the like, hey, it's coming up. I feel like Brooklyn and Darren are having a moment, and I don't know what just happened. I feel like I saw it out the corner of my eye.
She just held up my book. She just got my book.
Oh my gosh!
I just literally bought it like a week ago, and this one in Patricia Fripp, she was talking about presentations. I'm like, oh my god. Anyway, moving on.
Jeez Louise.
I was
Can
having
you-
a little
can you
fan moment.
Show those
Sorry, we're
books.
distracting.
Put the links in the chat there, Brooklyn.
The great idea, Jen. I'm gonna do it right now.
Okay.
So, so the stuff that I'm typically looking for when I'm looking at a new conference is what are their mission, values, and goals. So typically they usually put up when there's a conference coming up, we're looking for tracks that cover, these type of tracks, these types of things. So they actually list out the types of sessions. If not, they talk about, they have a DEI initiative here.
Yeah, I've seen those tracks, but I was trying to get more granular, even more granular with it, besides using Chat GPT to be like, so using the best industry research, what are the biggest pain points for women in the manufacturing industry today, kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, I think if you know the tracks, and you know what your core messaging is, the imposter syndrome, I think you kind of just lean into this is a good fit for, helping women in manufacturing achieve these goals. And literally I state what their goals are. So for example, if they have a track for, we want something for, I'm making this up generically, leadership, we want something for decision-making, right? Like let's say decision-making is one of them. In my description, I would put something that sounds like imposter syndrome is one of the most underrated, but I don't know if this is true, I'm making it up, right? Most underrated, but most powerful key to decision making is imposter syndrome, because if people feel like they aren't qualified to make the decision and they don't they can't make the decisions with the confidence that they need to make. So I build it around a track, but just lean into what I do, and I think your core messaging really well. So I think probably leaning into the track but using that as part of the description is where I would go. Unfortunately, I couldn't find something to go into, but the tracks already. You're familiar with that idea. And then if I can ever tie it into their mission or vision statement, if I feel like it's actually a real, like some companies have mission and vision statements that are like no one in the company could actually recite them. And others you kind of can have a sense that it actually is part of their code. So, saying like wanting to help women in, I'm making this up, so I apologize if it's wrong, helping women in a male-dominated industry where 87% of all current workers are male, rising the women's ability to rise to the top and uncover how imposter syndrome keeps them from there, and what to do about it to increase increasing the female leadership is part of their mission.
Yep.
Then I would just create that as like a paragraph where I would change it. So that's what I would do. But
Okay.
I'm happy to open it up to others if they have better suggestions here. I see some stuff in the chat. Does anyone have their hand up for this? What do you do to help customize and find out on the website?
On the website, I mean, I basically have a conversation with them themselves, right? In terms of what's going on. I think from a sales standpoint, depending on what you're speaking on, I usually try to find out what are the members saying in their surveys, what are the members having concerned about, what are the problems that they're facing as a result. And because basically what you're going to do is you're going to cut your keynote shoot address or answer, right, a key problem they're having or solution to what they're dealing with.
Totally feel you on that. And I'm trying to think about it. This is not at the point where I've talked to them. It is a cold pitch, and I won't have a chance to talk to them unless they're like, oh, hey, we're interested. Let's chat. So that's why I was trying to figure out, like, your tip that you gave in one of the AMAs, Arel, about going to GuideStar and looking at the 990s and figuring out how much people spend on conferences was brilliant, because I was about to completely undersell myself to the National Federation of the Blind. I'm like, those people are spending $500,000 a year on keynotes and conferences, so that's what I was more thinking about. Brooklyn, are there
cold, yeah,
like little,
and sorry, Darren, just before you go, the other thing I was going to say too is literally whoever you're trying to reach out, they've had some sort of social media footprint. So I usually go to their LinkedIn, I go to what they're writing, I go to what they're talking about, I get into the conversation. The other thing too, by the way, when you reach out, and probably Darren knows this, it's hypnotic. You reach out, but you also now start making comments on their stuff, so your name starts to pop up. They start to see you. It's like, well, this is interesting. I've seen her name, and all of a sudden they're having coffee. I'm like, who's this Jen person? Who is it? So I would definitely look at what they've been writing and doing and figure out how to engage in that way. Go ahead, Darren.
And Jen, had you thought about finding out who their keynote was before and reaching out to that person?
Not about reaching out to that person, but I have looked at who their keynote was before. That's also,
I mean, if they're, if they get the heart, like of an NSA type of thing, like they're going to be like, yeah, I spoke to them. This is one of their things. And they might even literally do an introduction for you. It's worth a shot. And, it's just, again, building relationships. I know you don't want to suck up, but.
I'm also a stand-up comedian, so everything I say is tongue in cheek. You know what I mean?
Thanks. Well, me too.
There it is.
Thanks, Darren. I appreciate it. And I appreciate your sucking up too. Back to you.
So one of the things that I would be curious about is I just Googled who are the top 10 women in manufacturing, identify them, and just like I would have a conversation with them. Like, hey, from your perspective, what are you seeing out there? What's the lay of the land? So instead of like creeping around looking for content, I just like go directly to the source. And especially if there's any journalists who work in that area or whatever, like one of the things I'll do is just like, what are they covering in that sector? That would be really interesting. I always like journalists because they have to have their own like set of resources and connections and contacts in the industry. But like these top 10 women, obviously they're leaders in the field and kind of like thought leaders. And so go directly to the source.
And
How do I say your first name?
It's Tresa.
Tresa. Okay, Tresa or Traka. I didn't want to say the wrong thing. Awesome.
Yeah,
Tresa.
I get it.
I did that last time. I feel bad.
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
Happens all the time.
And Jen, had you thought of seeing if there's a publication, call the editor and say, hey, what kind of problems are you facing now that you're looking for articles for?
This is a good idea. This is a really good idea.
Thanks, Darren.
Because the publications are going to want to only publish what's most hot and most pressing, and then that's going to be the content that people are going to want. That's actually really smart.
There's also a lot of so like the Women in Tech Facebook group is just a hotbed of like really great content. So like I always just look for a Facebook group now and see if there's a really good one out there where people are sharing information.
Thanks.
Do you have a podcast, Jen?
Do I have a podcast?
Yeah, make one up. Okay, look, here's what you do. So you make it up. So if I want to reach out to somebody, literally, I will be like, look, I have a few questions. Would love to have you on my podcast, 10 minutes, whatever it is. I actually get more people responding to me because they want to talk about it, or they want because I want their opinion. I'm looking for their opinion on something. I'm interested in something, and then that begins an engagement, because it could be also that may not be the person, that might not be the conference, or whatever the case may be, but now they have a complete experience with you. Versus just like everybody trying to talk to these people. I have a few questions. I'm doing this. I would love to interview. You don't have to be on an interview. The other thing too, by the way, people do interviews by just email, right? So, hey, here's some questions. We'd love to, if you don't want to be on camera, you can just answer these questions. We'd love to know more about you, blah, blah, and I can put you on if you want. But I literally have a podcast just for that, just to bring people on to have a conversation, to get ideas.
I do the same thing, saying that I'm researching for an article.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's super smart. I know of a guy who part of his business model, he's a little bit different space than us, but similar. His whole business model is reaching out to people who he thinks are ideal clients for his service, and invites them to be on his podcast. And
I
then,
may have been on that guy's podcast, and I would never do, but if somebody did that to me, it was such a bait and switch, and it's such an obvious bait and switch. I was like, never again, and unconnected with them.
Okay. Yeah. So I've not done it, but I thought that was interesting. Like, I was like, oh, okay. But the bait, if it's like hey, I mean, I guess it all depends on the execution of it all, right? Like, it all depends on the execution. Well, thank you so much for your
executed well at all. And then he put me in touch with his mom, who was like part of his business, to like schedule. It's like 5 years ago. So hopefully he's gotten better.
I'm pretty sure it's not my guy. I hope it's not my guy, because if it is, I'm gonna be like, you're sending people to your mom? What are you, 12? All right. Moving on. Who else? Thank you, Jen. And any other questions, Jen, before we move on?
No, okay. I'm good. Thank you so much. Thanks to everybody for all your suggestions.
Of course. What's up, Darren?
And super quick basic question, and I know your team could handle it, but I was like, I just wanted to jump on and start to connect, because I'm freaking, I was told by somebody, don't get seduced by technology. I was like, you know what? Ron Carr recommended it. I'm going to try it. I did it. I didn't do a great job pitching the feedback, but the very first one, I got 2 leads out of it, one cold, one hot. And I'm like, screw whoever said that, don't waste your time. And I'm like, I'm all in. So that's why, and I reached out to you. But super basic question, but you might have anyway, can I share or?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So I'm still learning this. I'm still new at this, but maybe someone else has a basic question too.
Yeah.
I don't even know what a good percentage is, but I was setting up this new one. I speak Vegas locally for whatever anybody has. So those aren't my normal fees, but I'll take it if it's in Vegas. Anyway, so I'm setting up this, and then I set this up. How do I connect the two? Like, how do I connect?
Yeah, so they're already connected. The way that our system works is that it's when you get feedback that's hitting your survey, it will put it in automatically to that date on November 8th. So once this slide is created, the AMBA conference, which is that the one you're referring to?
No, this is the one that I got coming up here.
Okay, yeah. So what you want to do is go back to your, so do you see where it says NCRA, and you see where it says you see those 3 dots next to it? It says the Q, nope, go higher up to the, yep, right there. And you see where it says download slide?
Yep.
Have you downloaded that slide and put that into your deck?
Not yet.
Okay, so what you want to do is download that slide. See, I did my thumb thing.
That's money. That's money right there.
Yeah, you want to, yeah, for sure. You want to download that slide, put that into your deck, and use that slide.
Right.
And then the system's already connected because it does it by date and time. So on November 8th, when data comes in, it'll fill it into that report for you.
Okay, because I was like, why is that not connecting? How come the code isn't showing up there?
Once people start giving you feedback and using that code, it'll then place where it says code right there.
Okay,
for you.
Cool.
Now, one of the things I noticed, and I just want to point this out because I'm not sure if it's on by design or accident, I noticed you weren't giving away a bonus with that slide. Was that on purpose, or you just haven't created something yet?
I thought I did.
So if you click on that, 3 dots right there, and go to edit code.
Yep.
You see step 3, that's where you would put whatever, like if it's that link right there, you could just take that link and paste it right there.
Yeah, I thought I did, but obviously I didn't.
Yeah.
Do I hit
that? Nope, you don't have to, you can just paste it in, hit next. Hit preview. Oh, see, that's what you did. Go back. I see what you did. Go back. You see what it says add a custom question? You pasted the link in step 5. So you want to delete that. So, yep. And then hit preview this feedback flow.
Arel, you got to go slow. Darren's a little, slow.
The old ribs from the buddies.
Yeah, comedians busting on comedians in the back of the room.
I just watched Norm Macdonald's roast of Bob Saget, and I don't know if anyone's ever seen that, but apparently it was a comedians. Anyway, forget it. So if you put so go to let's, do you see on the left it says let's go? You can just test it, right? So you can just hit yes, and then just kind of like click through it. Make sure it looks the way that you want it to look. You can hit definitely yes, or probably yes. It doesn't really, none of this is going to be kept. So you could just, just click whatever you like. It's just to make sure it looks the way that you want it to look. Then you can just click next, and then next, and then next again. And then what one more next. And then what I like to do is click on my bonus right there. So click on that bonus just to make sure it's taking you to the thing that you actually want it to take to. So there it looks like it is. So you can X out of that page. And then on the bottom.
Where did I put it then? Because you said I had it in the wrong spot. So I took it out.
Yeah. So go to back on the bottom left-hand corner. Do you see question 5 is add a custom question?
Yep.
So step 5 is if you want to add a question like, what's your biggest virtual presentation challenges? Or I taught you 10 things today. What stood out to you the most? If you want to add something that's custom to your unique presentation, you put that in question 5.
Understood.
If you hit back one more time, you put the bonus in question 3. So give the audience a bonus incentive right there. So now what you want to do is hit next, preview this feedback flow, and then put looks good, download my slide. And then you want to click the orange button on the bottom that says click to download slide.
Yep. I got it on this is my event computer, so I'll do it on my laptop.
Perfect. Yep. So now your slide is set up. So if you put it in, you're set up and you're good to go.
Sweet. And my question is, I know that talking to your team, your freaking customer service team is amazing. Unbelievable. That's
thank you very much.
I talked to them about it a little, and one of my only like pushbacks is the fact that it comes up in Talkadot branding when they just watched an hour of my slides and it's blue and gray and blue and gray and black, and then all of a sudden orange, and it's jarring. And I know you can change it on Canva, but had you considered down the road that we could just, I don't even have the Talkadot logo. I'm cool with that. It's just that it's not my brand colors.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. So that is something that we are aiming to do. So surprisingly, it is way more challenging than you would ever expect to do. So technically it is on our roadmap. So you will have the ability to create it without going into too much detail of why it's so challenging. I want to say this as respectfully as I can. We have to make sure people don't make it really, really ugly accidentally. We have to figure out how to create these guide rails, and it's a little bit more challenging than we expected. So right now what we said is, hey, Canva is set up for you to do whatever you like to do. So use that for now until we get there, but it will be there. You will be able to do that. I promise you that.
So
just quick idea, possible solution to that. What if you just allowed in our profile that we choose one color in our profile and that bleeds out? So we don't have total control. I love how simple it is. I love that you've already tested it. I freaking love that. I don't want to do that work. That's why I love how simple it is. But if you could let us just choose one, CRM or RGB code or whatever, and then it infuses that. once they go on their phone, I don't even care if it's a different color. It's just that first one. And
You want
again,
that visual to match it. Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
because I got the crap beat out of me for branding a while back. So now I can't not see that. So
yeah, no, for sure.
Thanks for
And that's a good idea. I will throw that onto our Slack channel to our tech team and discuss that. For now, I would for sure go to Canva and use do you need any help with, like, if you wanted to design the slide on Canva, or do you feel good with that? I don't know if you have a design team.
I don't want to learn Canva. It's one more thing to learn.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my
No,
God.
I dig it. I
But
dig it.
Darren,
If
you don't need to learn Canva.
No, it's so
you
good,
can
so easy.
literally download it as a JPEG and cut and paste it into your presentation.
You lost him at download. You lost him at download. You lost him at download. He's
you
like,
can
I'm
use
out,
the
I'm out.
internet. Oh, wait a minute.
Oh,
now.
wait.
What's that arrow mean?
No,
Oh,
shit.
look at it. It's
So-
time for lunch.
Kids.
My lunch
So-
plate is
Maybe he
empty.
needs to see a demo on how
Netscape?
easy
Is that
it is.
Netscape?
I don't know if I messed up your branding situation, but I'll tell you. So Darren, I literally use just the QR code and I put it into my slides. And so that's what I've been doing, and people get it right away. And I usually, as I'm watching my time, I usually have about 5 minutes right before I'm like, hey guys. And then I say something like, let me ask you something real quick. Did you get value from this conversation? Did it bring you everything? Yeah, it was really great. Awesome. Here's what I need you to do. And then I put up the slide with the code. People immediately take their phones out and off they go. So it's embedded into my deck itself. So I don't know if I'm violating code here, but that's what I do.
No, it's so, like, we want y'all to be successful with it. We want you to do your thing. Yeah, for sure.
And
It's
Arel,
actually
can
funny.
I just add something? It's Kelly. So Darren,
Kelly.
I am a branding queen. Like everything is black, pink, and white. So I'll show you. Like even my office is black, pink, and white, right? So everything is black, pink, and white. When I do my slides, my slide is black, pink, and white. The Talkadot slide is black, pink, and white. There's no orange bar. There's no orange on there except for in the corner, the Talkadot logo. So if you really just have somebody on your team go into Canva with the slides that Arel gave us, you can do it in your own colors because mine has no orange on it.
Yeah. We want y'all to be want y'all to be happy. Very important.
So wait a second. So what you mean is you just took that downloadable slide and you just put it in Canva and you were able to change the colors? As simple as that, right?
No, we have a Canva template that has basically our slide design that you can then use Canva to change. I'll post it in the
Yeah.
Can I share a screen real quick, Arel?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And then just so that they can see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, for sure. I'll post the Canva.
So that's my slide.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Fantastic. Okay. So I guess I did not know that there was a template. You know, I've used the whole time. I'm using just your slide.
Yeah, for sure. You can. So our slide design was supposed to be like, hey, we're not graphic designers. Here you go. It's done for you. Now, if you're like, no, I want to, hold on. Let me post it. Boop.
Make a copy of it. They'll make a copy of it.
Yeah. So that's the Canva template link. This link also, just in case you're like, oh my gosh, I lost it and I want to access it again. Let me just share my screen with y'all. On your dashboard here, hold on. You see right here on the right-hand side, it says get started in 6 easy steps. And it says need to customize your slide, grab a Canva template. So this is on your dash. So you do not have to email us for this link. You don't have to say, hey guys, send me that link. It's on your dashboard at all times. And if you click on that, it'll give you basically a rundown on everything you need to do on how to modify it and change it. And if you just click on this link in step 1, that's the link that I just posted in the chat for you. And you can see what everyone else has done. Like these are all the other kind of slide designs that people do. Don't delete anyone's slide. This isn't like the greatest solution, I'll be honest with you. Don't like, I'm going to delete this person's slide because I don't like them. Please don't do that. Don't be that kind of human. We don't need those kind of humans in this world. Okay.
Well,
cool.
that's nice. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, of course. Of course. This is why we do the AMAs, by the way. This is why we do the AMAs. We want y'all to.
Well, Frank is talking, but I just want a word of gratitude. I followed up on what we talked last time. And I have my unpublished page with all the 4 things to give to event planners. And yeah, it's all like set and ready to go. So this time is really wonderful because it gives us food for thought, but also action to take. So perfect.
That's right. I like that. Food for thought and action to take. I like that. Frank, do you know, I'm trying to think of a joke because you're a comedian. Dang it. I was trying to, hold on. What do you call a nervous javelin thrower?
Don't know.
Shakespeare.
Oh.
All right, what's up, Frank?
Jokes.
I just raised my hand to brag. I opened for Norm Macdonald on his first show in the U.S. because he came from Canada.
Oh.
And who did the roast?
So Norm Macdonald roasted Bob Saget, but everyone expected Norm to do these like edgy, hardcore things, but he just did dad joke after dad joke after dad joke. And apparently it was so funny because the comedians found it funnier than the audience. It was like a whole thing.
Yes, and by the way, Bob Saget, everybody thought he was the America's Funniest Home Video guy, but his stand-up act was just
horrendous.
raunchy,
if you watched his stand-up expecting Danny Tanner, you would be shocked.
Brilliant and filthy. Oh my God.
So filthy. So filthy. Well, thank you for sharing that, Frank.
Sure.
I kind of want to do it. Maybe we should do a session where it's just all of the comedians and they come up and they give us like a tight 2, tight 5. Just like let's get some tight 5 stand up. All right.
I literally just did a gig in Colorado and 10 of my 15 minutes was about sphincters.
Wow.
Great word.
Corporate gig.
It's a great word. It's a great word. All right, moving on.
It was like a room full of like women entrepreneurs who do 6, 7, and 8 figures. So not corporate, but
all women.
All women.
Yeah, that's why you get away with it. There's one guy in the room.
I disagree with you, sir, but I appreciate your viewpoint.
Yeah, Arel, once you go into the gutter, you can't get out.
I know. I did this to myself. I took us down the sphincter direction, and now there's no way to. We just have to keep going down that hole.
Oh!
Bam! Oh. Sorry, I apologize, Teresa. I want to apologize for me. So, Teresa, what's going on?
Don't give a comedian.
Hello, fellow Talkadot family. This looked like I joined on a great day. I gotta give a shout out to Darren though. I was at one of your Toastmasters speeches, and so I'm glad to see you here as part of the Talkadot family as well.
Thank you.
I have 2 questions. Yes, Lynch. Yep. I have 2 questions. I actually received your emails too. Okay, back to my questions. I have a question. So I'm doing more speeches now, and I wanted to know what does definitely yes. I mean, what does that equate to? Like definitely yes or probably yes?
Yeah, great question. Let me pull it up. So I'll walk you through kind of the flow here. Let me share my screen with you. Okay. So here, okay. So how interested are you hearing future sessions by, in this case, Teresa? So definitely yes is like strongly agree. Probably yes is agree. Probably not is disagree, and definitely not is strongly disagree, if that kind of helps you map it to other things. But basically, if someone says they definitely want to hear you speak again, that means it's the highest positive sentiment someone can give you for wanting. But someone could be like, yeah, like, Arel's sphincter joke was okay, but not enough for me to hate him. So like, I would probably hear him again, sure. Or it's like that sphincter joke, I'll never use Talkadot. I'm going to ask for a refund and it's never going to, like Arel just went too strong down to, so that's you can go probably not, definitely not. So definitely yes, basically means higher positive sentiment. Probably yes means positive sentiment, but a little bit lower. So the more definite yeses you get, the better your overall score could be considered. And you can, like, one of the things I like to do is try to see, like, can I raise my probably yeses to definitely yeses? And then when then the other place where that comes in, just so you're aware, Would you like to book Arel? Yes, or possibly. That's also when you get your lead list. When we ask, would you like to book Arel for a future speaking engagement? They have 3 choices: yes, possibly, or not yet. Not yet means that we completely skip everything that I'm like a normal lead generation. But if they say possibly, we rank those as cold leads for you, meaning they're a lead, but they're not as warm as someone who says yes, definitely. So on your lead section, when you go there, you'll see the snowflake. Are you familiar with the snowflake, the warm flame and the red flame? So the snowflake means they said they possibly want to book you. The red flame means they definitely want to book you. And yes, they have an event in mind and they give you other contact. A warm means, yes, I have an event in mind. And maybe they give you their name, they give you their email, but they don't give you their phone number. And then we skip it. So if they didn't give you all their contact info, we classify that as a warm lead. So that's where yes, probably yes, and definitely yes kind of come in.
Okay. All right. Here's my second question. Thank you. That's a great help. Here's my second question. I think I'm having an internal battle with myself. I speak a lot to Trio, and right now I know that the organization has a major report that's due in a couple of weeks, and so I held back sending cold pitches to them. And I'm wondering, should I keep on doing it despite they have this major report that's due to the Department of Ed in a couple of weeks? Like, I'm like trying to be considerate of them.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of having this internal battle with myself. And I was like, let me join and ask what you all thoughts on that.
Sure. Yeah, it's a great question. It's a great question. I'll tell you, are you familiar with Dan Kennedy? You may have heard me reference him in the past, Dan Kennedy.
I am not.
Okay. Anyway, Dan Kennedy, he's like an old school marketing, sales, copy, gruffy. I'm a grumpy old man, but I make millions of dollars and I'm going to teach you my wisdom, right? So he's like one of those dudes that's just beloved, like in the industry for being a grumpy old like guy, right? Some people love him, some people hate him. I don't care which one you are. But he has a story, which I love, which I'm going to tell you because I think the story has stayed with me and it might help you with it. He tells the story of he would get these mailers about furniture for sale from this furniture company. And he would get these postcards every single 2 weeks. Every single 2 weeks, he'd get these postcards from a furniture store. But he couldn't care less about like buying furniture because he had all the furniture that he needed. And then one day his wife comes home, asks for a divorce, and he's got to move out. Who do you think was the first furniture store that he contacted? The one that had been messaging him every like 2 weeks for, whatever, 6 months or 7 months, whatever it was. And it wasn't because he needed the furniture any differently. It was about the timing, right? So when he didn't need furniture, he was blind to their ads. But when he did need furniture, because they were so consistent, they were the first person that he thought of. He went ahead and bought the furniture from them. Funny story, which is actually a true story. He did get divorced from his wife and then he remarried her. And that's always sweet when stuff like that happens. So I share that with you to say, I come from that camp, that consistency is important because you never know what someone's timing is. You might have someone, again, this is hypothetical. I have to put in my report for Trio. Oh my gosh, we don't have anything to talk about what we're doing for the next academic year in terms of programming. Oh, Teresa Harris just reached out to us. Maybe I need to keep her for our 2000. So they may not reach out to you. They may not like respond to you, but that's another touch point that might help them get there. And ultimately, I believe the biggest fear is they're going to yell at you and go, Teresa, what are you doing reaching out to me? I got this report. You're a horrible person. They don't do that. They just ignore you. So I come from the camp of consistency wins because you never know what someone's timing is.
Thank you so much for this. Did you know what the funny thing about it is? I didn't even know until someone told me Saturday. This is like inside information. And they told me. So I would have never known. It would have been reaching out anyway. But I know that it'd probably be a slowdown. So this is good. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, and the key with all outreach, and this is like the toughest thing that I've ever had to try to explain to speakers, is your job is to reach out their job is to respond, right? So I have to do, like, if I'm doing cold outreach, if I do 100 outreaches and 2 people respond, that's actually pretty good. That's actually a 2% is successful. What happens is we reach out to like 5 people and we get 0 responses, and then we go, people don't like us. Yeah, like I'm hurting people's feelings. They don't love me. They don't, like, they're gonna think I'm not really good. But in reality, the sheer volume has to be high, and you have to throw, like, if I get someone who responds, like if I just did a cold email outreach myself, I expect almost no one to respond. It's almost like, so when they do respond, it's more like, this is awesome. Because in reality, like, it has to be high volume to get low response rate. But if you have low volume, low volume, you'll have 0 response rate. So consistency and high volume, as high volume as you can like muster. Some people's high volume is like 20 a week. Some people is 200 a week. It's all really relative. But the higher the volume, the higher the response rate. The lower the volume, the lower to 0 response rate. And I've been trying to explain this in a way that makes sense. And I've never feel like I've successfully been able to explain this well enough, because emotionally, when we reach out and we don't get a response, it hurts so much that we think there's something wrong with us. And in reality, it's just the nature of the beast. So I don't know if that's helpful, but I just felt like adding that, just if it was.
It's very helpful. Thank you. I'm so glad I joined today.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here as well. Thank you so much for being a part of us.
Can I add something to that?
It's Trace, of course.
Also, when people do respond, be thoughtful about, you're building a relationship, right? So I've had somebody that has been reaching out to me to get involved in their program, and I'm interested, but my dad died like 6 months ago, and I'm still being hammered with stuff that comes up for his estate. And I'm like, I'm not in a space where, even if I wanted to, I wouldn't be a good participant, And she's like, oh, I'm sorry your dad died. How about this next week's 5-week challenge? And I'm like, oh, come on.
That's when you RSVP and no. That's when you RSVP and no.
I mean, I'm genuinely interested. I'm just like, I literally want to be in a season of life where I can actually say yes, but also recognize my humanity and me being honest with you about where I'm at, right? So,
and I think unfortunately that's the example that we have to use here. And I am very, like, losing a loved one is it's beyond tragic. It's beyond like anything I could ever say to truly emotionally do justice to that feeling. And that's a great example of timing, where Traka might be like, yeah, I would love to do it. Trace, excuse me. I'm so sorry. Teresa may love to do it, but the timing's not off. And then if you fall off and you don't reach out, and then, she might move on and find a different service provider who is. So, like, sometimes, I'll share this quick story, then I'll go on to the next part, because it stays with me all the time. You may, if we ever have a conversation, you probably hear me mention this idea of 10 monkeys on a branch. So 1 monkey jumps on a branch, 2 monkeys jumps on a branch, 3, 4, 5. And then the 10th monkey jumps on the branch and the branch breaks. Which monkey broke the branch? Now, at first glance, we think it's the 10th monkey, but you needed the weight of all of those 10 monkeys to break the branch. So oftentimes we always want to be that kind of like the breakthrough moment, that 10th monkey that we feel like action happened. But in reality, sometimes you do something and it feels like nothing happened. And in my mind, I go, that's the 2nd monkey. That's the 3rd monkey. That's the 4th monkey. Like, I'm going to get to my 10th monkey. So I need to put as many of these monkeys on the branch as I can, which is outreach or connection or, hopefully empathy. So I appreciate you saying that, because I think it kind of illuminates the importance of consistency and step by step.
Hi, Arel.
Yeah. Hold on. I think Frank's hand is up. Frank, did you have a question? And I want to get you Dr. Lulu, but I also want to go through the. I saw that.
No, I just want to say that the Dan Kennedy story, it's actually a radio maxim. The benefit of radio is frequency, and that's why the same tire store advertises same time every day when you're on your way to work commuting, because only 3% of the people in the car that day are going to need a tire. But at some point, the other 97% are going to need a tire. So the premise is be known before you are needed. That's why I have 5 posts every week on LinkedIn, 2 newsletters, and I I've been reaching out to a guy since February of 22, and he just set an appointment, a discovery call this month. So, you know, touch. And finally.
Yeah, you know, it's it's super important, that consistency, that overtime. I mean, I can tell you, I've made decisions where like I've known of someone's program for like 5-6 years, and then I'm like, all right, fine. Like now's the time. I finally like believe in whether them or myself or whatever. I think Jen though has the best thing I've ever heard. I'm not a jar of Nutella. I can't please everyone. Golly, that's
Or a bottle of tequila. I don't judge.
Doris, and then we'll get you Dr. Lulu next.
Yeah, a couple quick questions. Now, I have a question about, for the speakers here, about the integrity of fee. And what I mean by it is, I'm going to be speaking in the largest venue for me yet. And I made one mistake when I knew they wanted me. We decided, we went to the whole thing, and they asked me how much. And I should have said, what is your budget? But I didn't. Mistake number one. I did not say that. And I told them my budget. And I was under the impression that this kind of a big venue, they will have a videographer, and they were telling me that they will also buy my books in advance. Well, it turned out that they're not going to buy my books in advance, but they're going to offer me to put a table and for me to sell the books. And there's no videographer because they believe that all their 500 people will take videos and put it on Facebook and do their own thing. So they don't have a professional videographer. So now I have to go, and because I want a professional videographer. So I'm just wondering, what is the integrity of the fee? If, my gut tells me just use the money that they told you and then do the expense of yours without anything. The other side of me saying, maybe I should say, hey, I was doing this, price was based on this. Can we renegotiate? But my heart doesn't feel 100% good about it. And that's maybe is my pleaser. Like, oh no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to sound bad. On the other hand, I'm like, well, the hell, it's going to cost me, whatever, 1,000, 2,000, whatever for the videographer. Should I do that? So I just want to ask you guys, what would you recommend?
Did they promise a videographer when you were in negotiations?
So they didn't yet. No. So they just said, we'll have videos. We'll buy all your books for our 500 people participants. And I was like, great. So I gave them the X amount of money, which for me is still the highest I've ever asked. But I do think that other speakers, and again, that was my problem, my fallacy. I should have not told them the price in advance, and I did. So I acknowledge that part. The question is, from here on, should I just say whatever? Hopefully I'll sell 300 books for more money than I actually would have sold them 500 per book, right? And I'll make enough money. But just wanting to know, what would you guys do?
Yeah, I'll open this up to the group. I'll give you my opinion, and this is very subjective, right? I don't think there is one way. Like I can say this, and someone can say I'm totally wrong, and I can say this, and someone says they totally agree. I think it's a very subjective thing, but I think like people's experience. I come from the school of thought that I'm always playing the long game with my clients. Like I always want them to have the best experience possible with me, the best, I'm the easiest person for them to work with. I've always found that even if I take smaller things in the now, in the long term, it'll benefit me in terms of reputation, referrals, that kind of stuff. So if I have a contract out with someone and my contract did not specify these things in the contract and it was more of a handshake agreement, that's on me. Like that, and I think someone put in the chat, that's a learning thing. Like if they're going to say, we're going to do a videographer, we're going to do that, and I get that in the contract and they sign it, then it's like, well, it's in the contract, so you got to do it. But if it's a handshake agreement and they back out of it, I don't then want to, I personally wouldn't ruffle the feathers. But that's also my approach. Like I'm open to other people's opinions on this one. I think Jen wants to jump in.
Yeah, I have a couple thoughts about that. One is, did they agree to buy your books before you were negotiating the price, and that's why you gave them the price that you did?
Exactly. They said, you know what? When I said my price, I said, you know what? We will also get 500 books for every participant,
So did you ask them about that? Did you follow up and
So
say?
the conversation went with so it was a Zoom call about 3 weeks ago. And then last Friday, there were 2 people that were not in that Zoom call. And so these are 2 new individuals, part of the event planners. So they did not know about this other conversation. And then I thought to myself, my heart tends to go what Arel is saying. Is
But
like,
wait a minute now. That's an important detail you just brought up. So if one of the people, this is important detail, if one of the people verbally agreed to it, and then someone else came in and said, yeah, we can they may just not have communicated it to each other.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. I think you could, hey, I was just reflecting on our call on Friday. And when we initially had the conversation, you agreed to purchase 500 books, which is why I gave you an introductory price for my keynote, because it's the first time we've been working together. And I want to make sure we're still on the same page. And to make it easy, I thought I'd direct you to 1-800-CEO-READ, which is that way. I mean, unless you have an agreement with your publisher to buy a certain number of books, don't ever purchase them yourself on Amazon and then send them out. Go to 1-800-CEO-READ, right? But I would just be like, so I'm a little confused about our conversation. You said this, but then this. And so I gave you that introductory price. So from my perspective, I'd have to increase my price by this amount, or you can go ahead and buy the books. If they do it on 1-800-CEO-READS, that also bumps you up on Amazon for, the amount of books that you're selling, right? So that'd be one way to do it. I also, once you get that sorted out, I'm with Arel as well, where it's it's the first time you're going for the long game. Maybe say something like, I was really thinking a lot about this. And as you know, I gave you that introductory price. I'd love to know, what I found really helpful is doing a brown bag quarterly to follow up on the whatever, so that you can have quarterly things. And then there was another really important point. Idea. Yeah, to do it. I got this from Arel about the long game. I'm like, okay, how can I turn this one keynote into a bucket of coaching hours or a quarterly training that's 90 minutes? That's a kind of a ask me anything based on the content that I covered, Yeah. Then if you are paying $2,000 for a videographer, you're paying too much.
Well, I just put it in our NSA, Oregon, where I'm from, and I have a list of 4 videographers this week. So I'm going to follow up and see which one is, what's the price without selling a kidney, and then see what happens.
Well, I would say 2 things about that. One is caveat emptor. I was the keynote at a SHRM event last year, and there was a videographer who had decided he was going to video prior to, and reached out to us and said, like, would you like to hire this person too? None of us took him up on it. But this guy, not only did he have a camera at the back, he had a handheld with somebody going around and doing reactions. And the organizer is actually a client of mine, the program director for the conference. I said, did you get media releases from everyone? She was like, so, and I told the guy afterwards, I said, you cannot use any footage of me because I did not give consent. And other people were also walking up to him and saying that. So if you're getting your own videographer, just make sure you have media releases, or if the company does it as a standard practice, so you don't step in it the way this guy did, because they will never hire him again because of the way he made people feel.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And I found somebody last minute on Thumbtack when I was in Charleston, South Carolina, and my person backed out for $325. Just saying. Cool. This is 2019, pre-COVID. So I don't know. Prices could have gone up.
Yeah, I paid about $450 here for 2 camera with, permission and everything. So I think for $500 I could, but because this is the biggest venue yet, I am just trying to think, oh my God, maybe I need to pay more. But thank you, everybody. That was very helpful. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, Doris. Let's go, Dr. Lulu.
Can I jump in on that for like 30 seconds?
Oh, yeah, of course.
So super quick. Number 1, always get the audience mic'd, because if we can't hear them and it's a little laugh, because most microphones are directional, which is designed to pick up yours, but it's not designed to hear them. For you and I selling ourselves to event planners, they need to hear the audience. They need to see the reactions. Critical. So yes, we need footage of you, but it's almost just as important to get the reactions, but hear the reaction. So you need you have to ask the videographer for a blanking here, but a microphone that picks up the audience, an audience-based mic. And then real quick on your proposals, as soon as you have a conversation like that, you don't have to write up a big proposal, but just give them, I learned from Alan Weiss, like 3 options. Give them an A, B, and a C. You know, A includes the books, and the books are, you know, in parentheses at this fee. Now, video, if you're going to video, then I would reduce it. But now if you go back and they say they're not going to video, well, then you don't get the reduction. Hire it. So just super simple, spell it out. And Ed Tate calls it a work statement of draft, work draft statement. So it's not like a contract. It's like, here's what we said. But now you can go to that other person and say, well, this is kind of what we talked about. Did I misunderstand? And maybe you did. Just a thought.
Thank you. Thank you. So this is such a beautiful wisdom group here. Thank you. Thank you.
Of course, yeah. Always love the collective wisdom that's here, because we got the goods. We got the unicorn speakers, baby. Dr. Lulu, you've been patiently waiting. I want to hit you up because I know we're on the top of the mid top. I don't know what it's called. I want to get your question answered is what I'm trying to say, Dr. Lulu.
Oh, I didn't have a question. I had a comment, but sorry.
Oh, please.
Yeah, I wanted to say something to whoever was saying something when I raised my hand, and I don't remember. It was something about, I mean, I think whoever was feeling weird about maybe not getting responses.
Yep.
And to just, I think I was going to say it's like it's a numbers game. And what I learned was there was a time I just went for no. I find that if we're going for yeses, our minds play tricks on us. And if we don't get 5 yeses, we start crying. But if we go for no, then we can keep going and just know that the 1 yes will usually be worth all of the no's. I think that's what I wanted to say, but I already forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, just
there's wisdom in that. There's wisdom in that. Thank you, doctor. All right, we'll round us out with Frank King.
Yes, I'll bring the wisdom to an end. I think the mistake was actually made initially. I never asked, what's your budget? I don't care how big the venue is, how many people are coming, whether it's profit or nonprofit, I quote my fee. And then we move from there. I've got to think of the make it work menu like Darren was talking about, where they $4,000 in discounts. I can choose video at $1,500 off, 2 video testimonials, $500 off. But I never asked their budget. I couldn't care less. It's my fee, and we go from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting thing, because where we are in our journey also kind of determines, because some of us were like, and like, let's also be honest, and I think I speak for everyone on this call and everyone watching this recording. Does anyone still think it's weird that people pay us to do this? Like, I would do it for free. Like, I love it. Like, I love it so much. Like, I would 100% do it. I do it for free, right? Mm-hmm. But like the fact that you get paid so much to do it for you, it's like, wow, you know? So I think in the beginning, it's, or if you're entering a new market, trying to like, what is my fee? What is my, I will say no if it's below this number. And I think that's a very important number for all of us to discover. It's very different for every person, but there should be a number that if it's below this number, it's a no, right? Mm-hmm. But at certain stages of the game, we're like, I remember when I first started, I got $100 and I was like, for an hour? What? y'all are just throwing money away. This is amazing, you know? And then eventually, obviously, we learn the game a little bit, and you're like, yeah, like you can get
exactly. You know. I think, Frank, you just have been doing it for a long time, and you have that built in through experience, confidence that this is how much you charge. But I think for me, speaking for myself, you know, living my 30-year career in education and now venturing to this. And maybe that's educators, they're not getting paid a lot to begin with. So for me, it was this stepping into a new world. And at the very beginning, I would speak to other speakers in our NSA chapter. And, you know, you can't talk about how much money you make, right? But in private, they will say, oh, you know, I made this or I made that. And it took courage for me to step into these numbers. And that's something I didn't have before, like in 2018 and 19, I didn't have that. So So I'm still learning, and I want to work with the group. I want to work with the convention. So
if y'all want some insider language, because I've been in the game for a while. There is a big difference between what many speakers charge, and there's a big difference between what many speakers accept. Okay, so a lot of speakers I talk to be like, "Oh, I charge 40,000." Like I met this one lady one time. She's like, "I charge 40,000 for a keynote," and I went to her website and I was like, "You may charge that." It doesn't mean you accept only that, right? So lots of people charge different things, but if you actually look at the speaking industry, it's malleable, right? Because opportunity is valuable, getting in with people is valuable. So there are, and that's why I think it's important to know what your no number is, right? Like there's a number where it's like, yeah, we should pass this on to someone else, and you won't feel guilty. And that's going to be different for everyone. The other challenge, and this is like beyond the scope of what we have the ability to cover today, because it is very nuanced, but in certain industries, if you charge below a certain number, you're not trusted, so you won't get it. So if you go into some places and you say, "Hey, I'd like to, get 1,500," they're going to be like, it's like me. So the best example I can give is, "Hey, I've got a brand new Tesla, never been used, Model S plaid, with self-driving mode. It's only $1,500. Are you going to go, that's awesome? Or are you going to go, what's wrong with the car? Is there a dead bot? Like, you know what? There's too much that could be wrong with it because it's too low for the value that it should be. So knowing like what industry standards are very important, so that you're actually playing in that ballpark, or else you actually, the lower price, you think it's helping them, it's actually causing them to trust you less. But that's a whole other sphincter. I was trying to bring it back to the beginning. I was trying to do a callback here. If you just joined, I apologize, because the callback is not going to mean anything to you.
Well, I want to say something about your callback. So first of all, it's not schwinkta, it's schwinkta. Schwinkta, like my Jewish grandmother used to say, because she would say, "I want a tongue sandwich." Sandwich.
I can't do that.
And there are between 55 and 60 schwinktas in your body.
I don't even know how to process what you just said.
Your throat has a sphincter. You have like a butthole in your throat because you don't want to choke when you're breathing, when you're eating. So your throat closes up. It's simply a hole that allows things to move through it on either side. I don't know what you're getting so up in arms about. Or
I'm not. It's just we get here.
I'm just processing everything you said for the first time. That's all. It's just for the first time. That's all. Thank you all for joining us for this
time,
week.
so that I could make it.
Thank you all for joining this week's Talkadot AMA, where we cover lots of variety of topics to help you hopefully succeed and chuckle. Thank you all for being here. I will see y'all hopefully next week. And remember, if you like your friends who are speakers, please tell them about Talkadot. If you don't like them, tell them about Google Forms. I'll talk to you later.